When these dreamers cross this bridge, to share its truth, play my strings, and I'll sing your song. And as the melody unfolds, just go along. Speak with words that I can hear, whisper air into my ear. Your silent presence perseveres, and I breathe. Set me free to face my fears, 'cause once you've held me in your arms, they disappear. I change my world, and I'll pave your path. As our distance grows with time, I'll lead you back. The language I understand, your warm voice was so unplanned, giving me the strength to stand. Was it chance or was it fate? For this the winds can compensate, helping lovers navigate to breathe. Yeah, oh, stay right with me. Story, play by play and scene by scene. It's always what you need to breathe.
The Jonny Shorr Band, everyone. So Jonny Shorr and his band were this year's winner down at Campus MovieFest for Social Justice Award, and we're happy to have you guys here. Thank you so very much. They're going to play again in a little bit this evening. So this evening, as you guys can see, I've got note cards because Marion warned me not to go off reservation tonight. So I'm going to try to stay on cue here. So as you guys can see, tonight we're going to try to cook up a little bit of hope. So I hope everybody had an opportunity to taste some of the wonderful food that we had this morning, and we want to thank the Four Seasons Catering Company for cooking that up for us this morning. They've done a great job for us the last few years. Quick reminder, this evening, if you guys could, please turn off your cell phones and ringers at this moment. If you guys have emergencies, at least please turn off your ringers for us. We want, on behalf of the Elfenworks Foundation, to thank all of you to the 2014 In Harmony with Hope Awards, sponsored by the Elfenworks Foundation. My name is Ken Tam, and I have the pleasure of the opening remarks and kicking this wonderful celebration off. Tonight is our 8th annual celebration, and we're going to meet 3 more incredibly creative and inspiring social entrepreneurs. In addition, tonight, our elected officials in Burlingame have declared October the 2nd, 2014, as the Day of In Harmony with Hope. So, congratulations, everyone. So tonight we're going to hear from David Romer about our partnership with Campus Movie Fest. In addition to that, we're going to get an update from our founder and CEO, Dr. Lauren Spieth, about what's happening with the Elfenworks Foundation. And we're very thrilled to have the very talented Nora Zehetner with us as our special host. She'll be introducing our 3 honorees this evening. I think most of you guys know Nora came out to California at the age of 18 to pursue her acting career. And I think most of us know a little bit about her screen credits from her critically acclaimed movies, Brick and Brothers Bloom, and of course all her appearances in TV series such as Mad Men, Grey's Anatomy, and Heroes, and Everwood. But I think what some of you guys may not know is that a lot of what she does on the outside is very compatible with what we do here at Elfenworks. So in the first year that we kicked off, when Lauren was off kicking off the Concert of Hope, Nora was overseas in the Gulf providing hope and cheer, good cheer to our armed services and our men and women in the Gulf. In addition to that, as one of her characters, when she was in Heroes, she was an evolved human that had the power of persuasion. And I think we all recognize that all 3 of our honorees, in addition to just their amazing inspiration, they have the power of persuasion to get all of us in America to do things that we should be doing. So first, I'd like to thank again the Wells Fargo Foundation for supporting us and being our partner. And I want to welcome from the Wealth Management Division, Brad Lambert.
Thank you. Wells Fargo Foundation, thank you so much. I think I did that last year. Wells Fargo Foundation has been a proud supporter of Elfenworks and this event for years now. It's my 2nd time here, and I have to say that I've been looking forward to it since it ended last year, so I'm very happy to be here. It's hard to be in the company of Lauren and Ken and everybody at Elfenworks without smiling, and it's hard to be here tonight without being both inspired and humbled in a big way. So we're very proud of our association, very happy to be here, and looking forward to many more years here. Thank you.
You know, I look out at all of you, and I see 2 kinds of filmmakers. I see the haves and the have-nots. The haves have submitted to our award. They have tasted what it feels like to make a film that could touch somebody's heart and mind, maybe heal something that's broken.
Don't know about it at all. Oh, she don't talk about it. We don't walk about it. They don't know about it at all.
And then there's the have-nots. And to you, I say, come on in, the water's great. I just want to thank you, and I want to encourage you, and I want to ask you one thing. Whether or not you submit to us, just promise yourself you will never underestimate your power to make a ripple.
Woke up on the floor.
The exact same thing happened last year after Brad, where I had to move the microphone down, and it's not any better this year. But next year, I'll keep. Anyways, back when I was young, 14 years ago, We wondered what would happen if we passed out laptops and cameras to students at Emory University. 800,000 students later, all of whom have gotten to make their own short movies and see them up on the big screen. It's been an incredible dream come true, and we like to think about it in two ways. First is BE, second is AE, before Elfenworks and after Elfenworks. The first 7 years, a whole lot of fun. It was all about teamwork, all about letting students tell their stories. Saw all sorts of movies that you can imagine, some that you couldn't imagine, and it was a great opportunity. After Elfenworks, we had this incredible foundation on board, all about encouraging students to actually make a difference in their communities. How can you use the power of video to change the world? And it's been a remarkable adventure ever since. So we just want to thank Lauren and the whole team at Elfenworks for saying yes to that crazy proposal we made 7 years ago. It's that yes that we're always trying to look for, that we heard again when we said we want to go over to the UK this fall. How can we help? Was how Elfenworks responded. It's the same thing that we hear from a lot of people in this room, including Nora. When we asked her to present an award a couple of years ago, driving down the street, she said yes. I think we asked you to fly across the country, you said yes. And here again tonight. I spend a lot of my time kind of on the business side. We're trained to say no, we're trained to focus, and there's certainly a place for that. But I always leave this night wondering how can I say yes to a whole lot more, and I'm just incredibly inspired by what you're doing here. So thanks again for all of that. Speaking of saying yes, I get to say yes to a very fun part of the night. We get to welcome back the winners of our, in addition to the movies, we get to honor the top bands. And so we get to welcome the Jonny Shorr Band, who told me, no, I'm not allowed to sing along. But please give them a big round of applause.
Looking for the words to say, 'cause when you are so amazed, it's hard to quite find the way. We're working with a bit of faith, and with the bar set in place, I'll run a steady chase to give a little grace to the girl who stands tall. A little bit of grace as I wait for her call. Just a little grace in this world that's so small. The end of the day, you know where I stay. I sat with her as she played. She is not surface made. Rest in your perfect shade. Where'd you learn to be so strong?
I'll be with you all along, but tune into your own song,
and I'll give this grace
to keep my head high.
A little bit of grace to that white light inside. Just a little grace, I will wait by your side. At the end of the night, we'll all need some light. 2, 3, 4. When you crash a why, we'll stand behind you. I'll be there to find you. Take my hand and there's nothing that we can't do. Oh, leave me amazed and with no words to say. I'll give this grace to the girl who stands tall. Just a little grace as I wait for her call. A little bit of grace in this world that's so small. End of the day, you know where I stay. End of each day, you know where I stay. End of each day, in my heart you'll stay.
Please help me welcome to the stage the founder and CEO of the Elfenworks Foundation, Lauren Speed.
First of all, weren't they wonderful? Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Wells Fargo for supporting us again this year. It means the world to us. Welcome, everyone, to the 2014 In Harmony with Hope Awards. You'll shortly meet 3 outstanding social entrepreneurs who embrace and embody hope. They have a message of hope to empower people to make a change. I find this inspiring. As we like to say, it creates a ripple effect. Our theme this evening is cooking up hope. So, what's this hope that we're cooking up? I think hope is a feeling. It's a feeling that what's wanted is possible. And moreover, hope is an active, conscious choice. It's easy to have hope when the sun is shining. But life's more like that chef's show. You know, the one where the contestants are given a batch of impossible ingredients, octopus ink and yucca dew, and they're supposed to do something with it. The contestants succeed anyway. Hope's like that. Under pressure, in light of changing circumstances, with sometimes odd or even distressing ingredients, hope remains stubbornly resilient, flexible, bearing fruit out of season. When you're filled with hope, everything tastes different, delightful. joyous. You know, all of us have an impact on our lives every day. We're cooking all the time, whether or not we realize it. The question is, are we as nourishing and as empowering to our world as we want to be? Because we all want to be good cooks, don't we? If we look at our lives as a nourishing stew with ingredients like work and play and family and friends and the sacred and the silly and celebrations like this where we can break bread together, then we see how we add a texture, a flavor all our own, and by our presence, we bring out the flavors and textures in others. We're a vital ingredient in a bigger mix, a bigger meal. We're all a part of it, and each of us can find a way to be creative in the kitchen, even if you're as miserable a cook as I am. I want to tell you a story. I was about 20, and I was cooking a Brazilian dish called maneira de botas. It's got a filling, it's got fried bananas, and on top of that, it has a meringue. Well, I took the filling, which I'd baked in a Pyrex dish, out of the oven, and I set it on the burner where I had just been frying bananas. And I went into the other room to whip up the egg whites for the meringue. And then, kaboom! I hear this huge explosion in the kitchen. I went back to the kitchen to see what might have happened. And there were shards of glass everywhere, in the ceiling, in the floor, everywhere. It was a sticky and dangerous mess. Well, I had taken the Pyrex out, but I had forgotten to turn off the burner. And apparently Pyrex doesn't like that. Who knew? I realized something. I need to focus on what my skills are. And I realized that my culinary skills, or lack of them, are really not the issue, and neither are they yours. If you can heat beans, that's all that's necessary to help somebody who's in danger of starving. If you can teach, share your knowledge, teach hope. If you're an entrepreneur, open a small business, hire someone. And if you're a musician, well, your program this year, it's in the form of a cookbook with many ways to nourish yourself and others. We will know that we've succeeded if it finds its way into your kitchens. It has literal recipes, like my Aunt Jill's cookies, and it has recipes for hope, like Mrs. Carter's mental health pie. 2 cups of compassion and a cup of education, a dash of informed policies, and you bake it all in a crust. And you bake it until all discrimination and misconceptions about mental illness have been simmered away. How tasty is that? There's recipes like that in here. Our work at Elfenworks as technology advocates for hope nourishes us and others in a number of different ways. We have partnerships, you saw some of them up there, with the Center on Poverty and Inequality at Stanford. David Grusky's somewhere in this dark room, but he's here. Thank you, David, for being here. We have a partnership with Barbara Ehrenreich at the Institute for Policy Studies with her Economic Hardship Reporting Project, and we're very excited about that. We have a new project to help nonprofits be more robust and resilient with their IT security. We're calling that echinacea, after the flower that you drink the tea and it helps you not get a virus. So. You saw a bit about our Campus MovieFest partnership, which we just love, and it grows every year. More and more students are learning the recipes for successful filmmaking and being transformed, becoming social justice advocates and filmmakers in the process. And then, of course, Well, there's also my book, my little cookbook for social entrepreneurs to try to get more cooks into the kitchen, and that's been recently translated into Russian. Dr. Vladimir Jenin is here. He was the translator. He's right over there. Thank you, Dr. Jenin. It's also coming out soon in Portuguese. And of course, then, our culminating evening of the whole year, tonight, the In Harmony with Hope Awards, brought to you by our amazing team. Marion Sprague was the leader of this. Marion, please stand up. You need a round of applause. Wow. All the elves, any elves of Elfenworks, will you stand up for a second, everybody? I need you all to get recognized. Jen, come on. Yeah. Yeah. Do I have the greatest team in the whole country? Can they cook? Tonight's about shining a light. It's about inspiring all of us and all of you. Our honorees each use different ingredients and their innate gifts and passions to nourish others, each in inspired and creative ways. You know, everyone has their own way of creating a ripple. No two ways are alike. No two recipes are the same. No two cooks come up with the exact same thing, even using the same recipe. Your ideas are fine, just like mine, the cook who explodes, Pyrex. So I'm standing here now calling all cooks, cooks of hope, cooks of love, cooks of social change. You're needed in the kitchen. Buon appetito. And now, it's really a pleasure to welcome our special MC tonight, who has a young actress who has already had a big impact on film and television, and is a special friend both to Elfenworks and Campus MovieFest, Nora Zehetner.
Thank you, Lauren. I love what you do, and it's so amazing, actually. We were having a great conversation before we started, and you have such a way with words. And while I might be a little bit terrified to take actual cooking lessons from you, I would probably let you lead me to the moon. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to meet three remarkable, transformational people. Scott Warren, Dr. Margaret Martin, and Jim Zolkowski. All three work with our nation's youth. They are unique, creative individuals who chose to make a difference. They chose to transform. I'm delighted to present our first recipient of the evening, from New York, the founder of Generation Citizen, Scott Warren. Scott was just 15 and living in Africa when he witnessed the first truly democratic elections in Kenya's history. That experience, coupled with his life as the son of a diplomat, inspired both his belief in the power of citizen participation and the power of individuals coming together to make a collective difference. Scott realized that people learn about the democratic process by actively taking part in it. And he recognized that too many people here in America don't have easy access to that experience. And this understanding was the basis of Generation Citizen, which he started while a college senior at Brown University. In 2008, Scott and his co-founder Anna Neenan enlisted the help of student volunteers to teach what they call Action Civics in 4 low-income schools in Providence. It was clear from the outset that they'd hit upon a successful model working to bridge what Scott calls the civic engagement gap. And each semester, the program grew. Because you see, at its core, Generation Citizen is working to stop the cycle of the underrepresentation in the democratic process of low-income, less educated, and minority citizens. Generation Citizen formally incorporated in 2010, and they've come a long way. Last year, they worked with almost 8,000 students in the Bay Area, Providence, Boston, and New York. Here's how things work in practice. First, they sign up schools that serve low-income students. Next, they recruit and train college students to serve as volunteer democracy coaches, gosh, I don't know what's happening to me today, sorry, in the classroom. Over the course of a semester, the coaches delivered 20 well-defined, action-oriented civics lessons. And the students identify a problem in their community, and then they find solutions to that problem. They make documentaries, they write opinion pieces, they create social media campaigns, and they lobby their local elected officials. Then, everything springs into action when the class projects are presented, judged, and celebrated at a citywide civics day at the end of the semester. The college students who become democracy coaches can commit to volunteering for Generation Citizen for at least 7 hours a week. Weekly college chapter meetings augment an intensive 2-day training to ensure that the coaches are connected and supported. The school teacher serves as a partner and a manager of the classroom and integrates the principles of action civics into his or her broader classroom teachings. What makes Generation Citizen different from other organizations working with youth is that it's action-oriented. Students must do civics to learn the political process. Let's take a look.
Some of my students started off telling me on their exit tickets that they didn't think they had anything to add to the class. And by the end of the semester, those same students were actually the ones that were most fired up about Civics Day. I think because they really wanted to have an impact, but nobody had told them that they could. So as soon as they realized that that was the case and that they could make a change, they became incredibly motivated and very passionate about what they could do.
What I get for the students is they have the opportunity to actually think for themselves and decide what's important. So it's really quite different from other things they do in a classroom.
We want our students to actually participate in the process. They're meeting with legislators about gang violence. They're producing documentaries about teen pregnancy. They're having teen jobs fairs where they're engaging local employers.
There's a change that occurs where people genuinely feel this moment of empowerment. They realize that, hey, I can actually make a difference, and this is how I'm going to be able to do it. And that's really what Generation Citizen is about.
And even just at Civics Day, allowing them to see that people in power and adults are actually paying attention to the kinds of things they're saying is something that's really important because they certainly have the ideas.
For example, I have a student who said he was not interested in voting because he couldn't see the impact. Well, you make those connections and then you see that his conversations with people, his presentations at Civics Day actually gives people who are making decisions about the world different ideas, and it really does have an impact.
It might not be a big issue to a lot of people, but it is to us, and I think that we want to make a change.
I think kids usually need like a push to do better. Like, this was my push.
After joining Generation Citizen, I believe that my actions can have a larger effect on the community that I live in and the world that I live in.
Being involved with Generation Citizen and the teachers that are here today, that really provided me with the blueprint that I needed to serve as mayor of the city of Malden.
I felt like it was a parallel process of guiding students, but also really growing myself of how to be a better change maker.
And in the simplest terms, Generation Citizen is the link between, on the one hand, civically disengaged, non-participatory youth in the public education system, and government officials, politicians, local decision makers who have some sort of influence on the issues that these students want to change.
So in my other classes, it's like we learn about math, we learn about history, but this one, it's like we were creating history. It was because it was a different feeling because we actually learned more about ourselves, more about our community.
I think success for Generation Citizen is simply a democracy where everyone participates.
Please welcome Scott Warren.
Thanks so much, and I think Nora might have just provided the best explanation of Generation Citizen that anyone has today, so I don't know how much I actually have to say now. Thanks so much. It's truly an honor to be here. I'm so grateful for Elfenworks, for their whole staff, for everything they've done to put this together. We could not do this without folks like them. I'm also grateful for many of the Generation Citizen supporters that came out today, and I'm honored to be in such esteemed company tonight. As I was figuring out what to say tonight, it occurred to me that Generation Citizen was sort of started because of something that happened very close to where we're standing right now. So about 20 years ago, my dad, who is here tonight with my mom, decided he was tired of being a criminal defense attorney in San Diego, my hometown. He made this decision in spite of the fact that he was very good. He had argued in front of the US Supreme Court, he made a decent living, he was known as one of the best litigators in San Diego County. But he wasn't entirely happy. So on a whim, he decided to take the Foreign Service written exam, which led to the Foreign Service oral exam, which happened to be administered in San Francisco. After taking the oral test, which is incredibly competitive, he was told that he was accepted into the State Department. He called my mom from a payphone at the San Francisco airport, just a mile from here. Yes, this is back in the days of payphones. And told her, "Randy, I think I just screwed up your life." Now, candidly, the word screwed was something a little less PG-13, but I'll be safe for the audience here tonight. Just months later, we were leaving our beach house property in San Diego for the Dominican Republic. And my dad left his legal practice to process visas at the American consulate, making a salary less than he had been paying his secretary. I don't think I've ever told him this, but that decision is still incredibly inspiring to me. You always hear people giving advice to follow your dreams and passions and not to worry about the money. But you don't see people doing it in the middle of their lives. I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision. But why is it relevant tonight? Well, had we not moved away from San Diego, Generation Citizen would not exist. Over the next 10 years, we moved around the world, throughout Latin America and Africa. And throughout those journeys, I was exposed to a number of emerging democracies. My dad and I, as was mentioned, served as observers in Kenya's first truly democratic elections in 2002, and witnessed the excitement of individuals in rural Kenya casting their first votes, along with the pure bliss that followed when the opposition candidate won. They voted. Their vote mattered. They felt that they changed their country's trajectory. A few years later in Ecuador, I saw a coup as the masses drove his president from his house, eventually out of the country as citizens felt he had not delivered on his promises. In 2008, in the midst of a runoff election in Zimbabwe, I spoke with members of the opposition party, some who had been tortured to the brink of death, all because they wanted a better future for their democracy, for their country. They were willing to die for it. These stories showed me the power of democracy and the power of individuals working together for collective good. They also showed me the fragility of democracy. So when I returned to the US for college at Brown, I became involved in international activism relating to the genocide in Darfur, Sudan. As I engaged in my own activism and helped pass legislation to require the state of Rhode Island to divest from Sudan, I noticed the same energy towards politics and democracy that I had seen throughout the world was not present in most of my classmates. People did not think our democracy mattered or that it worked. I started Generation Citizen my senior year at Brown to empower young people, teaching them what we call action civics and showing them that they have a voice to take action on issues they care about. I started Generation Citizen because I wanted to see if it was possible to bring the same energy I saw in Kenya to our own democracy, which is actually an interesting question right now. If you think about it, I started Generation Citizen in 2008, and by most objective measures, our democracy is in much worse shape than it was then. I don't think it's completely our fault. Trust in government is in all-time lows. Voting rates are abysmal. Nothing gets done in Washington. And so instead, people look at different ways of making change. So you might ask, why should we care about an organization that actually is trying to get young people excited about politics? It seems like a rather impossible mission, right? So there are two reasons I actually think we're moving in the right direction, and that while Generation Citizen is not the solution to all our political problems, There's a solution, and an important one. The first is what we're seeing in the classroom. In about 4 years, we've worked with more than 20,000 students in our 4 cities, and we're working with almost 10,000 just this year. The program takes place in schools during the school day, so it's obvious that schools want us there. And our students are doing amazing things. Just in the past year, we had a school at Queens realize that bullying was a huge problem. While many initiatives focus on providing victims of bullying emotional support, they don't tackle why bullying exists in the first place. To tackle this root cause, this class developed a full diversity curriculum to be completed by their peers in a required class. But that wasn't enough. They met with their city council person, who happens to chair the whole New York City Chair of Education Committee, and are now trying to get this to be a required curriculum throughout the entire city of New York. We see these stories every day. They show that if young people make their voices heard, they can have power. But it would be incredibly cliche to say that I have hope just because of our students. Perhaps more so than them, I have hope because of all the people who have galvanized behind our vision of a rebuilt democracy, one in which young people are leading the way forward and everyone participates. When I started Generation Citizen, it was just an idea I put together, a curriculum I wrote up. I had no idea what I was doing. I was too scared to actually make it a nonprofit and needed pushing from backers and friends. In the last 5 years, I've been blown away by the amount of people who believe deeply in our mission, and our board members who sacrifice so much energy, time, and their own resources to make this vision a reality, and more than 1,000 college students who help teach this class in schools. But more than anything, I'm blown away by my incredibly amazing staff. We have a team of 16, all of whom work so hard and do far more than one would think possible with 16 people, all because they care about this vision. They work weekends to train our college volunteers, deal with cranky school administrators, and they pull all-nighters to get ready for audits. GC would not be GC without this team. And so while I'm honored to accept this award, it is on behalf of my team, who would never get enough credit for the work that they do. And so yes, I believe that we can rebuild our democracy and that young people can and should be at the front and center of this effort. I believe this because of the amazing work that I see our young people leading. But more than anything, I believe so because of how many people have gotten behind our mission, who believe that our democracy can work. When I started Generation Citizen, I had no idea where it would go. I still don't. But the difference is now that we have an army of people behind us. And for that, I am forever grateful.
Please welcome our next recipient from Los Angeles, the founder of the Harmony Project, Dr. Margaret Martin. Margaret's life has undergone significant changes. She was a teen mother who, with her 2 children in tow, left an abusive husband. An abandoned office building became their home. Summiting deep inner strength, she turned her life around, and she earned her master's degree and a doctorate in public health at UCLA. She became interested in interventions that enhance a young child's future. For many years, the interest took the form of prenatal care initiatives. But one weekend morning, that all changed. Margaret's then 5-year-old son, Max, wanted to earn some money, so he set up to play his violin at a local farmer's market. Margaret strolled among the various vendors' wares, keeping a watchful eye on Max. She froze when she saw members of a gang stop to listen to Max play. But what they did next confounded her at first. They listened attentively, and then they began pulling money out of their low-slung pockets and placing it in Max's violin case. With that simple gesture, those gang members changed the course of her career and her life. Through their simple gesture of support, the gang members taught her that they would have made other, better choices had better alternatives been available to them. With this realization firmly in mind, she set out to found what is today called the Harmony Project. Dedicated to providing multi-year mentoring programs for youth in under-resourced communities through music, the Harmony Project is different from other music enrichment programs. It commits to each child for his or her entire childhood, and it provides an immersive experience into the world of music. Students are given an instrument, and they study, practice, and perform for 5 to 20 hours per week for years. In early 2014,
Harmony Project ran programs taught by professional musicians at 18 sites in Los Angeles and served 2,000 students who would otherwise not have learned to play an instrument or appreciate music. Demand far outpaces supply. There are 400 children on the wait list. Independent research data clearly shows that ongoing music education of the type provided at Harmony Project fundamentally remodels kids' developing brains. The impact can be seen in the graduation rate for high school seniors, which is an awesome 93%. Demand to replicate the program has been very high. The Harmony Project, which like Elfenworks moves forward only in partnership with others, now has programs in Ventura, Tulsa, Oklahoma, New Orleans, and Miami. Let's watch these amazing musicians in action.
The Harmony Project, it changes lives. From when we're really little, they grow with us. There is gang violence in our neighborhoods, and because of that, we were never allowed to play outside as children. We were given the opportunity to play music, which not many can in our neighborhood. All that I am, I have to owe to the Harmony Project.
You learn how to play an instrument, but you also learn about leadership. Learning how to play an instrument translates into success. It translates into an opportunity for them to go into a high school, into college or university. And I think that for our families and our community, that's a dream. And that's a dream come true.
Harmony Project just brings the whole community together, whether you're young or old, through the generations. It just gives me the ability to sing my heart out. I can play stuff that's sad, happy, excited. Harmony Project has made me be able to go places I really would never be able to go before, like Disney Hall or the Hollywood Bowl. The Harmony Project helps my parents know that I'm doing something really good with my time that will help me in my future. I am taking part in Harmony Project's mentorship program. It's really a learning experience for me, and I'm happy to be able to help the younger students any way I can. I hope to get my bachelor's degree, and then right after that play in orchestras, later get my teaching credentials, and hopefully teach middle schoolers.
Harmony Projects influenced my life by building my self-confidence and helping me connect better with something that I didn't really think was for me, or I didn't think I was good at. It helped me just find myself.
Built a strong relationship between me and my family.
Because it's given us something we both can talk about and connect with. I couldn't imagine my life without the Harmony Project.
I think that this program in itself changes the people around us. Those kids change, and they slowly start to begin, they feel like they have a purpose, they have something, they have a goal, they have a dream, they have hope for something. That spreads, hope spreads.
Please welcome Margaret Martin.
The proverbial envelope. We've got a dropout rate of nearly 50% in our 50 largest cities. We spend millions on drugs to help kids focus and learn. If we could find a drug-free way to close that achievement gap and send more than 90% of low-income kids to college, that would be a big deal. If we could do so consistently over multiple years in a program so joyful that kids stuck like glue at a per-student cost of just $1,500 per year, it would be phenomenal. But if participating in that joyful program significantly improved brain function in disadvantaged kids and made them better learners, and if this was documented by a world-class neuroscience team using a rigorous research design and published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Neuroscience, it would be a miracle. Harmony Project is that miracle. It began, as Nora said, when a posse of LA gang members walked through a farmer's market. They had shaved heads, teardrop tattoos, oversized clothing. They stopped to listen to a little kid playing Brahms on a tiny violin. Still chokes me up. After 5 or 6 minutes without saying a word to one another, I watched those gang members pull out their own money and lay it in that child's case. I was at UCLA at the time, completing a doctorate in public health focused on what it takes to make a healthy community. Those gang members were teaching me that they would rather be doing what that child was doing than what they were doing, but they never had the chance. I dug into the research. Music training was linked to improvements in math, language, cognition, brain development, and behavior. We launched Harmony Project in 2001 with 36 kids from low-income homes. 8 years later, Harmony Project was awarded the highest honor in the nation for an arts-based youth program by Michelle Obama at the White House. Two years after that, President Obama awarded us the Presidential Citizens Medal, also at the White House. They also wrote us personal checks. Talk about going to your neighbor and crying. Today, throughout LA's gang zone neighborhoods, 2,000 kids ages 5 to 18 spend 5 to 20 hours per week, year-round, after school, learning how to make music together instead of getting into trouble. We commit to our students from early childhood through high school graduation and beyond. Harmony Project is tuition-free, it replicates, and it scales. Affiliated programs have launched in 5 states, and more are on the way. See, a youth orchestra or a band is a perfect metaphor for community. They only work if the members show up at rehearsals, come prepared, learn when to solo or improvise, and when to blend in, and work effectively across cultural and ethnic divides. Jamila grew up in South Los Angeles, an only child. She found Harmony Project, rode a bus more than an hour each way, multiple days a week to get to Harmony Project, graduated high school, entered Dartmouth on a full scholarship, earned a BA in geography and a minor in Mandarin. Today, Jamila is teaching English in Beijing. She starts law school next fall, fully fluent in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. Since 2008, 93% of our high school seniors have graduated in 4 years and have gone on to colleges like Dartmouth, Tulane, NYU, USC, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Smith, and dozens more, despite dropout rates of 50% or more in the neighborhoods where they live and negligible college attendance. They're with us an average of 6 years. Our students live in poverty in neighborhoods ravaged by substance abuse and violence. They refer to Harmony Project as their second family, their sanctuary, or their refuge. One of our teens recently told a group of visitors that Harmony Project is where you go to get rid of all the stress in your life. But I could tell there was something more going on. I contacted Dr. Nina Kraus at Northwestern University's Auditory Neuroscience Lab. I learned that growing up in poverty negatively affects a child's developing brain and her capacity to learn. I also learned that the brains of musicians are very different and better organized and better functioning than the brains of non-musicians. See, if a child can't see well, you can get her glasses, but getting a disadvantaged kid's brain to function better is a lot tougher. Kids' brains are plastic, but it takes years of focused work on the part of that kid to significantly tune up her own brain. It turns out that learning music the way we do it in Harmony Project over multiple years does just that. It enables disadvantaged kids to tune up their own brains. They become far better learners. Today Harmony Project students are literally vaulting from the underclass into professions like engineering and biomedical sciences. For them, poverty is history. Every disadvantaged kid deserves the same opportunity. Those gang members handed us a powerful lesson. I'm deeply grateful to them and to all of you for your kind recognition and generous support. Thank you.
Margaret is also very tall. Our final recipient of the evening, from Stamford, Connecticut, the founder of Build On, Jim Zilikowski. Jim was raised in a middle-class family in the heart of Middle America. But Jim was not content to live in the middle. Instead, he traveled the globe. He writes in his book, Walk in Their Shoes, that he yearned to understand the world from the inside out. Then in 1990, several years after his college graduation, and thinking that he was ready to settle down, Jim accepted a job in GE's demanding financial management program. 15 months later, he quit. Deliberately choosing to walk in the shoes of the young people he would later help, he moved to Harlem, and he began working on an idea to improve access to education in remote regions of the world. The understanding he gained from his life in Harlem influenced Build On as much as the lessons he learned on his travels. Jim teamed up with his brother Dave to flesh out his idea. They wanted to involve low-income high school students in local service and in building schools in poor regions around the world. 23 years later, that organization had a $13 million budget and aims to break the cycle of poverty and illiteracy through service and education. Here in the US, youth service programs in under-resourced urban areas promote community and civic engagement. Overseas, schools are built in the remotest areas of developing nations, bringing education and opportunity to the world's poorest. More than 2,500 students engage in service every week in cities across the country, including here in the Bay Area. Over the years, 800,000 low-income students have completed well over 1.3 million hours of service. And in neighborhoods where dropout rates hover around 50 to 60%, 95% of Build On students go to college. 2 full-time staff members work at each school that Build On partners with. The most engaged students are given an opportunity to travel overseas and help build schools in poor countries. To date, Build On has constructed close to 700 schools in Nicaragua, Haiti, Malawi, Mali, Senegal, Nepal, and Burkina Faso. The local community participates in every aspect of building the schools. Every member of the partner community must sign the Build On covenant. They are creating opportunity and hope where there is little, in a world where 1 in 6 cannot read or write. 85,000 children and adults attend a Build On school every day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a peek at his journey and impact as we view the final video this evening.
After I graduated from college, I worked a couple of jobs and saved some money and backpacked and traveled in developing countries. And the first time I was immersed in extreme poverty was in India in the late 80s and in Nepal. When I came back to the United States, I had a much more acute sense and awareness of poverty in our own country and looked deeply at American inner cities in a different way than I ever had before. And saw, poverty there. And saw, a lot of challenges, very extreme, but in different ways. And yet saw that hope and that determination and that courage, especially in the youth. And so that's where the seeds, for Build On were planted. Build On is running after school programs that mobilize urban youth to do intensive local service work in their own communities, working with elders, homeless people, younger children, participating in service learning initiatives, and building schools in developing countries around the world. We are breaking the cycle of poverty, illiteracy, and low expectations through service and education. A lot of urban youth that we work with have come into the organization without a sense of control over their lives or their future. And lots of evaluations have been done, and this is what they say. And Brandeis University pointed it out most poignantly. And they said that the kids have lost that sense of control over their lives and their future. And when they get involved in Build On, they reach out and help other people. They work with elders and homeless people and younger children through our service programs. They go overseas, they build schools in developing countries. So they're transforming their communities and they're changing the world by building schools. And when they do that, they are empowered in such a way that they regain that sense of control over their lives and their future. They dig deep from within and they find that courage and that hope and that determination and they elevate. And there's nothing that can slow them down.
I'm breaking the cycle by being part of a movement. When I go and do service or anything, I see myself improving the world. Just one heart at a time.
It's an amazing feeling when somebody tells you that you're their hero and that we had accomplished a change.
I had problems at home, and it's like I would use Build On to get out of it. And then it's like when I would go to Build On, it was just like, this is my family.
When the person we help smile, it just motivates me to keep on helping.
They have so much love in their heart for us when we come out to do service. They have so much love and they appreciate everything we do. And from that, I learned to appreciate more of myself and appreciate what the world can do and what people can do, what humans can do to help another human.
When I went to see the school with the little children and all the rain falling on them, I was like, they need this school. They need to have a perfect roof. They need to have the walls and the foundation ready for them.
This right here, education is the most important thing. Education holds the key to success. Education guides one to the door of knowledge, and education is the foundation of all things.
I'm looking at them and they're like 14, 15 years old. Literally, they're in the middle of their childhood and they're thinking about what their moms are going through, the violence that they got to deal with on a regular basis, and yet they choose to come to a Build On service project. They choose to give back to their community. So in my eyes, that's definitely a hero.
The question is not how do I maintain my idealism? The question is how can I not maintain my idealism? How can you not be idealistic? How can you not work to help in some small way to make change?
Please welcome Jim Zilkowski.
Thank you very, very much. I really cannot thank Elfenworks and the foundation enough. It's an incredible gift, it's an incredible award, and we will use this recognition, we will use your generosity to ignite fires. So ignition is a huge word within the Build On community. I want to take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about why that is. So the first time I heard the word ignition used in a profound way was in a remote village in the heart of Africa. And when I heard this guy say it the way he said it, it changed the way I thought about the word, and it changed the way I was living my life. 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, my brother Dave and I went to a small village in Malawi, Africa called Misomali. And our idea was we were going to live in this community, we were going to work side by side with the parents and build a school. And when we arrived, all they had was a thatch hut with 150 kids packed into it, maybe 12 of them girls. And we said, we can do this. If you contribute the labor, the unskilled labor, and send your daughters to school in equal numbers with your sons, we can build a school. They agreed. We broke ground, started digging the foundation, and this guy named Stephen Tombani was on the work site every day, the most dedicated volunteer from the village. He became my best friend in the community. He became my mentor in so many different ways. Walls are starting to rise. Things are going pretty well until my brother Dave collapsed and almost died from malaria. 8 days later, I had a 104-degree fever. I had dysentery and malaria. I lost consciousness. And by the grace of God, Dave was able to drag me into one of 2 hospitals that they had in the entire country. And when I came out of it a couple of days later, the doctor explained that if I was away from that hospital for just 2 more hours, I would have been dead. You know, and I was lucky. You know, I was actually on my feet in a couple days, feeling good. My brother had a more severe strain of malaria. He had to come back to the States to recover. So I went back to the village to try and finish the school. And as I'm walking the last 3 or 4 miles into the community, I start seeing the family members that I know. And I realize that when they contract malaria, they do not have a near-death experience. They die. Why did I survive and they don't? It's because of extreme poverty. They don't have $20 to make it into a hospital. They don't have $1 for a mosquito net. And I was overwhelmed. I almost turned around and started walking the other direction. But then I thought, if we could get the school built, then maybe they can break that cycle of poverty, of extreme poverty, through education. And they don't need people like me to come around. So I kept going into the village. Fast forward to the year 2010. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, not too far from my hometown. And unfortunately, the Tigers lost tonight. Anyway, I was in Detroit in a shelter for homeless veterans, working alongside a 15-year-old girl named Rhea Gaddy. And I'm watching the way she connects with these vets, guys that served in Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, this really authentic connection. How do you do that? You know, how are you doing that, Rhea? And she said, these are the guys that gave me my smile back. And I asked her what that meant and got to know her pretty well. And she told me that she was never closer to anybody than she was her brother Vandell. He was the guy that took her to school. He was the guy that took her to service projects. He's the guy that always took her out to celebrate her birthday. Vandell was shot dead by an AK-47 3 weeks before Rhea's 15th birthday. And she was shattered. She couldn't go to school. And when her birthday came around, she knew she couldn't celebrate. So instead of that, she decided to do a day of service and honor her brother Vandell. And that's the first time she went to the Detroit Vet Center. And that's the first time she connected with those guys. And she told me they gave her the courage to overcome her fears, to stand up, to smile again. She went on to do 700 hours of service in her high school years. Built a school in Nicaragua. And then she won a full scholarship at Bowling Green State University for her service. And she's an honor student, a junior at Bowling Green. I just saw her 2 weeks ago. She's amazing. She is not alone, though. Our youth have contributed more than 1.4 million hours of service and helped us build 660 schools around the world. But what about Miss O'Malley Village? Is that one of the schools, one of the 660? It is, actually. We got the school built. It was the most dangerous project for us by a long shot. When I left the village, there were 150 kids attending. I never looked back. I did not want to go back. I felt fortunate to get out of there with my life. But I was in Malawi not too long ago with a team of kids from the South Bronx, and we were building a school in a different part of the country. And I thought, after 20 years, I got to go see, what happened. Where are those people? When I arrived in the village, I was devastated. I found out that our construction supervisor, that his wife, that his 2 little boys all died from AIDS. The chief of the village died from AIDS. These were good friends, close friends. And hundreds of people come to welcome me, and it's amazing, but my knees buckled. I was like paralyzed. And I couldn't find my friend Stephen. Where's Stephen? I'm looking everywhere. He's not there. 20 minutes go by, and my heart is sinking. And then he emerges from the crowd, laughing. And I will never forget that moment, because I will never forget what Stephen Tombani gave to me. In my darkest moments of fear and desperation, Stephen gave me the courage to keep going, to overcome my fears. And then he led me to the center of the village, and I was shocked. I did not know which school we built. Instead of one school and 150 kids, there's 5 schools in that village. 1,000 kids going to school every day, 533 of them girls. They built those other 4 schools. We had nothing to do with it. And then he introduced me to his beautiful 20-year-old daughter, Ruthie. And he was beaming with pride when he explained that Ruthie went to the school that we built. And she went to all of those schools. And then he lowers his voice. He's whispering. He's like, I'm illiterate. I can't even write my name. But Ruthie, she became an educator. And she will lift up my family's name for generations. That's what he said. And then he looked at me and he said, you were the ignition. And I shook my head. I said, no, Stephen, you lit that fire 20 years ago. And now Ruthie is the ignition. And education is a fire that cannot be put out. And now there's 85,000 children, parents, and grandparents attending these build-on schools every day. And each of them are lighting fires. I learned from Stephen and from Rhea that if we have the courage to overcome our fears, we can lead much bigger lives. Elfenworks has brought us together for a reason. They have brought us together because we are passionate about social justice and about some kind of important change. As we work for justice, we will face extreme challenges, but we cannot give up. We must confront our fears. We must light that fire, because the fire that we light is a flame that can never be put out. So I want to thank the Elfenworks Foundation, everybody here. It's really been amazing. I want to thank you for helping us, all of us, to light more fires. God bless you all. Thank you.
Wow. First of all, I want to thank all 3 of you and welcome the 3 of you to the Elfenworks family. We couldn't be more thrilled. I want to Thank you once again for Jonny Shorr and the band. Thank you, guys. Brad, as always, even though my mic didn't work at the beginning, thank you for coming again. Bradley, same thing, thank you. Like everybody else. Marion Sprague, who is probably the person who spends the most hours making this event happen. Thank you, Marion. Nora, thanks for being here with us. This evening was spectacular because of you and making everybody just take notice of our 3 special guests. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And lastly, of course, our founder and CEO, Lauren Spieth. Otherwise, none of this would happen.